Hey, Patrick Malone here with Beach Church. It's Tuesday night, April the 1st. We are going through the Bible this year. We're in 1 Samuel chapters 25, 26, and 27. And these chapters are part of the third major section of the book pertaining to the conflict between David and Saul. And also, it's part of this transfer of kingship in Israel from one to the other. So in chapter 25, real quick, the basics. Saul, as you know, has exiled David from the land. David has just spared Saul's life at the end of the previous chapter, in chapter 24. And it's interesting, chapter 25 begins in verse 1 with this simple statement: Samuel dies, and everybody laments him. And it says, all Israel gathered to lament his death. There's a lot packed into that. I'm sure it was an amazing funeral service. But after that, David, it says David goes south just to get away from it all, I suppose. But that's where we see the account with David interacting with Abigail and Abigail's foolish husband, Nabal. In chapter 26, David spares Saul's life a second time. And then in chapter 27, David and his army of 600 hide in Philistine territory. And all the while, they're deceiving the Philistine leader, Achish, who believed that David was attacking and killing Israelites, when in fact, David was really attacking the enemies of Judah, and by doing so, gaining favor with the tribe of Judah. But today I want to focus briefly on chapter 25, the latter part of it, and it's actually most of it. It's the account of David's interaction with that scoundrel Nabal and his wife Abigail, and Abigail, who later becomes David's third wife once Nabal dies. So there are two important items here to remember in this account between these three people. I want you to notice something. Notice how David is on guard when he's interacting with Saul. He's on guard. He's aware of his obedience and his devotion to God, and that he's being tested with Saul, and that this future king acts faithfully and honors God's anointed king and spares his life. Yet after the death of Samuel, and upon being disrespected by this local fool, Nabal, David's pride gets the best of him, and he intends to slaughter Nabal and his family, or at least Nabal and all his servants and the men in the family. It almost sounds like David is suddenly acting like Saul. So David lets his guard down and almost gets himself, almost does something really stupid, which, as you know, he does later in his life as well with Bathsheba. So we can let our guard down too. Sometimes we have spiritual highs and great victories spiritually, whatever kind they are, and then we just relax. We have this relaxed attitude towards our walk with God, and that sometimes can lead us into foolish sins because maybe we didn't put the armor of God on each day when we should have. So something to think about in your spiritual life. The devil's not resting. Evil isn't taking a break. Far as I know, angels and demons don't need to sleep. Not sure about that, but they seem to be always actively working against us. So we need to be on our guard. The other part of this is Abigail, and I want to focus on the actions she took that we can apply to relationships today. She employed several actions that might make things right in relationships that have been broken and we have with some aggrieved person. So here's what she did. First, she humbled herself in David's presence when David approached with all his men. She confesses the guilt of her sin. Now, she didn't do anything necessarily, but she's this guy's husband, and she's still married to him. She has a responsibility here to some degree, and she confesses that. She offers restitution to David. She's making suggestions about redressing the wrongs that her husband has made. And then she pleads for forgiveness. And finally, she appeals to David's sense of godliness, the godliness that he showed when he spared Saul's life. So she's appealing to his godliness so that he doesn't give in to this desire for revenge. Now it's interesting, Abigail, she's not officially what you would recognize as a type of Christ, a person in the Old Testament whose actions and characteristics made you think that this is exactly like as though Jesus was there doing this. She certainly acted toward David as Christ acts toward or for us. Christ is humble. He takes the guilt and the consequences of our sin upon himself and offers to address the wrong by simply inviting us to have faith. He's pleaded with the Father on our behalf so that we're forgiven. So think about it. As Abigail saved Nabal, her husband, at least initially before he died of other causes, from the sinful wrath of David's anger, Jesus Christ has saved us from the wrath of a holy God because of our sin. A sin we can't overcome under our own power or by taking any action ourselves. So let us this day and during this season of Lent profit from Abigail's gracious example. Also, as David did, let's also see her example as a gracious appeal to salvation through faith in Jesus Christ. That's it for today. Happy April the 1st and happy spring. God bless you all.